Happy Wednesday, Wnners. It is our favorite day of the week and our favorite month of the year. And you are now tuned in to another episode of the Ladies in Motion podcast, Talk It Out, where we shine light on women that's winning in the local community. I am your host, Madam Walker, and I'm super, y'all, excited about today's episode because, as I mentioned, it's our favorite month of the year. And today's winning lady is someone who is truly winning. We were trying to figure out how many times we've met in person. I remember one. She remembers one.
Right.
But it's a pleasure to have you again here today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, before I introduce to y'all officially who she is, I need everybody tuned in to share today's session. This will be an episode that will empower, inspire, motivate, all of that in one, okay? And so you just don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss the gems that will be dropped, and you don't want to miss the opportunity to share that with someone else as well. So make sure you share today's video if you care. And I want to give a huge shout out to Miss Jennifer Camp, okay, from the Fort Meade, Bartow area. They're having an event this weekend in Bartow, Florida, from 12 p.m. noon to 5 o'clock p.m. And it's a jazz day party. I love jazz music. I love me some jazz music. And it's a museum tour as well. So it's the Luster Hall African American Heritage Gym. They're putting this together. Organization putting this together. So make sure you just support the Bartow community. You know, it's Women's History Month. Okay, so it's women out here doing great things. Okay, and we're gonna talk to one of these women today. I'm super excited about it, y'all. I talk a lot when I'm excited. Okay,
me too. It's okay.
So we're gonna have a lot of conversation and a lot of talking going on today, y'all. So share this episode. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Miss Jennifer Camp, who has just always been doing things in the community since I've been a little girl. She's been doing things in the community, and now I'm a grown woman, and she's still outside doing things in the community, and that's what a woman that is winning is for us. So, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, y'all. So I mentioned we got a woman that is winning here today. She is born and raised in Miami, Florida.
Yeah.
I just found out right before this that she did her last year of high school in Tampa, Florida. And that's where she was residing before she moved to the great city of Atlanta, where she is a hairstylist, y'all. She's a serial entrepreneur. She has coffee and grind. She is the founder of the Jesus Jewels Brunch, which is amazing. We was talking about that. We're going to talk a little bit about that today in a moment. And she opened up another business not too long ago, y'all.
Yes.
So let's get into it, okay? It's going to be a conversation, again, that you just do not want to miss, y'all. She's an evangelist, a woman of God first before all those things. So we're just going to talk about being in our bag, meaning our Bible and our gifts. The word of the week is boundaries. So we're going to talk about having boundaries in this season, and just as a woman, especially a woman of God and an entrepreneur, and just finding balance between it all. So I need you all to welcome the Victorian McPherson to the show. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay, Victorian.
It's so funny because everybody asks, is that your real name? I'm like, yeah, that's my real name. It's Victorian.
I love your name. It's a very distinct name.
Thank you.
Yes, I feel like, you got a distinct name where you can put your first and last name as your Instagram handle.
Yeah.
And
Thank
it's
you.
like, take it.
I just keep it regular. I just don't have time for it.
I love it. So I can't wait to just talk today to you and shine light on you. This show is all about giving women their flowers while they can still smell them. Okay, and we've been friends on social media for a while, so I've always seen you winning. So it really is an honor to just sit with you today, get to know a little bit about your story. Okay. Before we get started, do you have anybody you'd like to shout out?
Oh my goodness! So I want to shout out my god sister Tamika Jones.
Hey, Tamika.
And I would love to shout out my auntie Renee Winston. She is the singer of Only God Can Do It. Everybody plays her stuff, but like that's my girl. Like I love me some auntie Renee. Like I can call auntie Renee, and I call Tamika too. At the drop of a dime, and like they're my circle. Like you know what I'm saying. Like you just need a circle of friends, a circle of family that can pray and gonna get a prayer through. So those are like my top two picks, and of course my Bishop Mark L. House, Victory City Church here in the city of Atlanta. So those are my shout outs.
Shout out to y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that.
Thank
you. I like to take these interviews like back to the beginning of adulthood, because I feel like when you 18, 19, that's when you really think you got everything figured out, but then you quickly realize, okay, life be life, and I do not have this thing figured out, and things don't always go as we planned, especially at that age.
Yeah.
So you said something. You're born and raised pretty much Miami your whole life. Then your last year of high school, you went to Tampa. I do want to talk about that because that caught me by surprise. What made you go to Tampa? Was it like a family move, and what was that adjustment like? Because you've been adjusting.
I've been adjusting my whole life.
Your whole life.
Yeah. So my mother passed when I was 16.
Wow.
Yeah. So which led me to Tampa because my father lived in Tampa, right? So we knew that my mom was sick. She had cancer, ovarian cancer. So I'm big on like cancer walks and things like that because I lost both of my parents to cancer, right?
Oh, wow.
So we had to leave. Like it wasn't my father was a very present father, so it wasn't you're gonna stay with your family members. It was I'm coming to get my kids, and my daddy came. They got us, and I ended up in Tampa. So you know, not going through therapy. You know, when you're losing someone, you still doing life. You're just trying to adjust and just doing life, right? So
you say you were 16.
I was 16 at an age where you need your mom.
Right. That's and can I ask you something real quick? What is your sibling lineup? Like, how many is it of you? Are you the baby? Are you the oldest? Or like, what is that?
I'm the baby, but I'm still the oldest because my brother has a disability.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just me and my brother. And so I tell people this all the time. I was the mother when I moved in with my father. My father got us because I had to take care of my brother. I was the daughter because I was still my daddy baby. And I was the sister to my brother. You know, so I had played a lot of moving factors that caused me to be raised up early and fast. Like I was grown. I thought I was grown at 17 because I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, going to school, and taking care of my family at home. So yeah, I always had an older like mentality a little bit.
Dang. So you go to Tampa after devastating, you know, events happening, losing your mother. So like we mentioned, you've been adjusting your whole life. When you were about to graduate and now be this adult and step into the real world, what vision did you see for yourself? Because you're a hairstylist now and entrepreneur, but did you always think that way? Did you feel like I'm going back to Miami? Like, what did you see?
I went back to Miami.
Did you?
Yes.
So tell me about
I always say this is before social media. I was a hot girl for real. So it wasn't no social media. This is when Miami was the thing to be at during Memorial Weekend. Like you were out with the celebrities, you were out with the stars. So I was like, I ain't going to nobody's school, baby. I'm gonna be in these streets. I was dating the dope boys. You know what I'm saying? So I'm dealing with the dope boys. I remember one guy I was dealing with, and he did not tell me he had drugs in the car. He would always buy me a rental car. He would always like, get a rental car. I was trafficking drugs.
And you didn't even know.
I didn't even know. I'm trafficking drugs. I'm like, oh, he giving me it's money. Child, he love me.
Right.
You know, I could be in jail.
You literally?
Yeah. So I didn't have a vision for my future. I didn't have no vision. I was out for the be in the streets.
Wow.
I'm gonna date a dope boy, and that's that. And I never forget, I in high school I had a friend, and we're still close friends, named Natasha. And her mother loved me. The first time she met me, she just loved me. She recently passed away in January. I was in Tampa for her funeral, and she ended up becoming my spiritual mother. And she was like, "You, the call of God that's on your life. You have a call on your life." Girl, I don't care about no call.
And she told you this as a teenager.
I don't care. I'm finna be in the streets. I don't care nothing about no call, Vicky. I am in the streets. I got a man. They love me. So she was like, "No, God is gonna pull you out of that." And she will always just pour into me. She'll always speak positive to me, and I never forget. She said, "You're gonna go down to Miami," and she was a prophetess. I say seer because she can see.
Okay.
She said, "You're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna go to jail, and I promise you're gonna give your life back to the Lord." I went to jail. And they threw away the charges. I had assault and battery, and I had a bench warrant because I had just turned 18. They had to throw the case away. And I called, and I was like, "Pastor Mills, I'm ready to give my life to the Lord.
Okay.
Yeah, and I ain't look back. Of course, I struggle because I'm still young. You know what I'm saying? So, and I backslid a couple of times.
Right.
I didn't get it right until I was probably 24 because I still was in and out.
Right.
And then I went from there to I started stripping.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
Yes, ma'am. I'm fluffy now, but Bookie, I was around. Yeah.
So I love stories like this.
Okay.
Just honest
Absolutely.
Stories, transparent stories, because a lot of Christians or women of God that are walking this life, sometimes they're not as open and honest, and I think we should be, because people need to know that this walk isn't like a perfect walk. You know what I mean? People think, oh, if I'm in ministry, I had a perfect life, or I didn't struggle, but people need to know that I actually struggled and overcame and have been delivered, or whatever the case may be. So I love stories like this. Shout out to my best friend Alicia, travel nurse practitioner. She's featured on the show before, and she always say that you can let a mentor teach you, or your mistakes teach you. So I love that you said this lady said, listen, don't you gonna find yourself back in trouble, and you like, listen, I'm gonna let the mistake teach me, but you came into it, and that's what made you like, okay, let me start walking a better life. So before, and you were young, that was still young. So before we move forward, I do want to ask you, like, what was your upbringing like when it comes to like spiritual in your faith? You know what I mean? Did you have parents that were a preacher? Did you grow up in a church? So you like knew you had a good foundation. I just want to know before we tap into it, so you can share with the people.
I did. My mom was a preacher. We was in church. I was in vacation Bible study school. Vacation Bible school, doing spring break. That's when we was at. Right. Like, okay. We was in revival. My mama was a preacher. She was an evangelist. She was a prophetess. So when she traveled, we was with her. I care less. And I will never forget. She would say, I'm gonna put you in the hands of God. I'm like, I'll be in trouble anyway. I talk to God more than you pray for me anyway. Like I was so. At a young age, it's so sad to say that, but I was just like, church again. Right. And I would never forget, she like, go to the altar and pray. And I was like, Mom, them people ain't down there praying. Them people probably sitting up to sleep. Like, like I was just like, I wasn't worried about everybody else. I knew. And this is so sad to say, but I knew I had purpose in my heart to sin. I'm about to run these streets.
You knew that.
Absolutely.
So my question is like, it's so funny to me because you were, you come from this mother who preaches the word also, and you grew up this way. So do you feel like it was because, I was going to ask, do you think it was like once she passed, then you were like, oh no, I'm in the streets, or you knew anyway that I am not going to walk this church path. I'm going to be outside. You knew that.
I know that. I know. I would tell her all the time, like, you don't have to keep praying. It's okay. I'm gonna sin. Like I know I'm gonna sin.
Wow.
Like, I knew that. So when I would hear people say, I didn't have a good life in sin, I'm like, that ain't my testimony. I had a blast. Right. Like, you can lie to these people. I can't do that. That's not even who I am as a person. I had a blast in sin, but I didn't have peace in sin. It's a difference.
That is the difference.
It's a difference. I had fun. We cut a rug, but I ain't had no peace out of that, right? I ain't had no happiness. I ain't have no joy for real. You know what I'm saying? So it's a difference. But yeah, my heart was purpose to sin. It wasn't trying to please God.
I love to hear it because a lot of us won't be that honest. I'm a praise dancer, so it's a part of the song say, when I wanted to do wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kept me. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yes, and some of us, wanted to do wrong. And shoot. I'm a person that was like, I don't want to get into ministry. I don't want to, just have that much pressure. I've said that myself, but I told you in this season, I'm in my bag, my Bible and my gifts, because baby,
you can't run from it.
You can't run from it, and there's no peace outside of the will of God. You get what I'm saying? So I love that you're being open and honest about that. So you're still very young. Okay, you moved back to Miami. When you're a hairstylist now, I feel like people that do hair, they always they always have had that gift. Yeah. So when were you doing hair and decide to go to cosmetology school? Okay. Was that after you got arrested, I guess, and you decided, okay, let me start changing my life a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, tell me about the pivot, the first pivot.
My first pivot when I moved back to Miami. I still was in hair school.
Okay.
I moved back to Miami and I was dealing with this dude who was not right. And I was just catching I had a little money, so then I started sending out my money running down. I'm like in school, I'm not focused. I'm just not like doing what I needed to do. And I said, let me just move back to Tampa. Let me finish out what I got going on. And that's when I said, let me change my life. Well, I moved back to Tampa. I finished hair school, right? And I said, I can. This is okay. I can do this. I'm gonna be all right. I'm just gonna be all right. But I didn't initially start off doing hair first, like you were saying. You know how we always like have what we want to do.
Right.
I wanted to be a fashion designer.
Okay, and I can see that because y'all, I met her. I told y'all she was hosting this event, and you just was fly. Like you was fly. And the way you commanded the room, like you are definitely a fashionista. I want
to be a fashion designer so bad. So I can't remember the school. It was IT something in Tampa, and I went, and it was like $30,000 a semester.
Wow.
Yeah, it was too much, and they wanted you to know how to draw. I didn't know how to draw.
Okay.
So that I said, I can't do this. Like they didn't give me any other options. They could have said you could have been a buyer. You could have did these things. The first thing they said, oh, you have to know how to sketch.
Right.
And I said, oh, I don't know how to do any of that. And I said, oh, what else can I do? Let me go to hair school. And that's how I ended up going to hair school.
And that's how you ended up going to hair school. But were you always like, were you the girl known doing your friends' hair school? Okay, so you've always been doing this. And just let's talk about the early stages of becoming a stylist. Just because I have a good friend of mine who went to hair school and she always had been doing hair. Okay. And she was not going to go to hair school just because the time, I guess, that you got to put in it. And she's like, I can do hair. Why do I have to do this? But she adopted a godmother at a grown age. She also lost her mom at a young age too. Yeah, she lost her mom at a young age, and a lady that she ended up working with, she said, hey, I want you to be my godmom. And this lady encouraged her to get in school. But anyways, I'm saying that to say, I know when she graduated, finally did all her testing and everything, she still didn't want to work in a salon. It's like, like she still was having a hard time. Yeah, so tell me about yours, like that transition of just becoming a hairstylist and doing it full time. You do hair full time? Yeah. Right. Just tell me about that. Just trusting your gift that you can do it. You can.
It's hard. Now I ain't gonna sit up and like, oh yeah, because I have my slow days. I have my slow days. And when I started out, I was working. Well, first of all, I started in a Caucasian salon. That was number one. I didn't just jump out there and just do no full frame because I knew that. And my hair mentor, shout out to Melissa, she said, "You already know how to lay tracks. You already know how to put weaves. You need to go to a Caucasian place, work in a hair salon, learn how to cut, learn how to color, and you will be untouchable." And that's what I did. So I worked at Great Clips, JC Penney's. I went anywhere that was giving out free education, right? And a check with the commission because I knew that once I went into booth rental, that was on me. That marketing was on me. That networking was on me. So I was like, I'm gonna just stick around. So I did that for like 7 years. I worked with them until I couldn't take it no more, right? And I said, let me just step out. And then I stepped out, and I'm telling you, like people was just coming left and right. And now I didn't stay in one salon, like until I found my niche. I found where it was a good place for me, and I just. That was it. That was the limit. Yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah. So do you feel like you putting those 7 years in at those salons, do you feel like, with the marketing, because I wouldn't have even thought that. You're like, dang, the marketing is all me once you're outside of that. So I didn't even think about that. Do you feel like you learned some things though while being in those salons that helped you when you got to your independent space where you're like what did you possibly learn there, and what couldn't you take that made you say, until I couldn't take it no more? Like what was it that you couldn't take that made you step out, pivot again and go to that individual route?
So with JCPenney's, their marketing was your business cards. Okay. You had your business cards. You would have to go out. They forced you to walk into the mall and to find people to bring to them. Okay. Right? Okay. So I was like, okay, cool. I can do this. I like people. great clips. I didn't really have to do too much of marketing with them because they was you come right in, get a haircut, you leave. But I think I found more of my marketing at JCPenney's and more educational, right? To be more educational, to not just stay in one-sided, to keep your mind open, right? So and I would just, let me tell you what I would do. I would look at different marketing campaigns like Mac. Mac was a big thing back in the days. Like I was like, oh, these girls come to work with their face big. Oh, these girls is like, they're all black. Like, So I pulled from them.
Okay.
Right. So I always had a mind to like, I'm a visionary. So I'm always looking like, this is my competitor. Like I got to kind of find what they're doing and make it better.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not a copycat. It's just, no, I'm gonna find because you're winning.
Yeah.
Now since you're winning, I need to figure out how you won so I can win too. So that's what I would do. I would get made up and I would go into the malls. I'll pass out my business cards. And I never forget the one lady I was working with, she was like, you have to put your face on the card. I said, I don't want to do that. I said, Mac don't have their face. You don't know the CEO. I said, you just know it's Mac. I said, all they need to see is my hairstylist and they need to come sit in my chair. And I was killing it. I was at the clubs. Like I just knew people will be at Waffle House, Cross Fletcher, right? I'm out there with my flyers. This is when flyers was a big thing. I was putting flyers on cars.
I love this.
Yeah, you gotta have a hustle. If you're gonna do it, do it. Like you not, if you don't want to come get your hair done, oh well, I will be in Walmart passing out my flyers and hanging out the door, tell my friends what y'all doing. Come with me to Walmart real quick. I had them passing out my flyers with me.
Love it.
So I just always had like, what is my next move? What's gonna get me some money in my pockets? Because I couldn't see myself at a 9 to 5. I just couldn't do it. It never worked for me. I always thought that.
Never.
Yeah, it worked.
Okay, I love that. So you doing hair and you're in ministry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what is it like when you just being young in ministry? Like, and you are still doing it now. So what was it like just being in the early stages of just ministry so young? Before you got stuff figured out.
So
what was it like going?
Man, I would remember like my clients would come in and they would be cussing. I'm like, not in here. You won't do that in here.
Okay.
Don't cuss in here. You won't talk about other stylists in here. Like I was very, very strict about.
I love that.
Yeah, very like. And like, it was, even I was young, they still like Miss Vicky, because I kept that standard. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew that I had, and here's the thing. They would sit in my chair and I was a safe place for them. You know what I'm saying? Like some people I prayed for. So some people I knew their business. Of course, you're going to talk to your stylist. So I don't think that it was hard. I think that I kept a safe place for them to come and talk to me. So they knew, Temple wasn't that big.
Right.
So it looked big, but it's not once you start doing everybody here. Like, okay, so once the word got out, people knew. They were like, oh no, Ms. Vicky ain't gonna let you know. You can't go over there with all that. So it was fine. So on Wednesdays, back then I was at a storefront church. So my spiritual mother, Wednesdays and Fridays, I was out of the salon by 3.
So you could
circle church. People knew that. Like they knew that about me. And it's like, oh yeah, she ain't gonna do that. Don't even worry about it. She at church.
And I love this because the word of the week is boundaries.
Yeah.
And you gotta have them in this walk. You know what I mean? So I love that you had them early, early in ministry and in your business. Hey, at 3:00, I'm not doing hair because I got this to do.
Yeah.
Prioritize myself.
And those boundaries keep you set. They keep you straight.
They
to
really
be honest
do.
with you, because if I didn't have those boundaries and if I was not active in ministry, I know without a shadow of doubt, I would have backslid.
Yes.
Keep me busy. Keep me busy doing something. Put my hands to work, because if not, and I'm still young and I'm trying to figure life out too, and trying to serve God, like I had to have those boundaries. I know me. Like you have to. Okay. You know yourself.
You got to know yourself. What about like dating? As like a younger person, especially too, and just now, I feel like dating in your 30s is great for me.
Okay.
You just know your boundaries.
Okay.
And well, me personally, I'll speak for me.
Okay.
I know my boundaries. I'm just not willing to compromise.
That's right.
At all when it comes to them. But when you're younger, you be compromising a little bit, you know. So I just want to ask you, what was your experience like, especially coming from someone you're so funny, talking about you had plans to be outside.
Hello.
And then you pivoted though, and you know, you still are now got your eye focus, but outside still is looking like okay back there. You know, like tell me how you balance that.
But look what you said, your focus.
Yeah.
I was always career driven.
Okay.
So like growing up, my friends, I always say, y'all so boy crazy. I ain't good. Like, if you like me, you don't. Punk it, it don't matter to me. So I think that's what happened when I shifted over into serving God. It didn't matter. Like, and I used to say, I used to be so annoyed, and I still be kind of annoyed about it too. I used to always say, I'm not serving God just to get a husband.
Right.
I'm not coming to church serving God just for marriage.
And like, you know, people think that.
Absolutely.
Because people do that, I guess.
Yeah. So I wasn't too pressed. I was like, child, I'm trying to set up my career. I'm trying to I was traveling. Like I was on the move. I always was doing something. Yeah. And I was married before, so I met my I know.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I met my ex-husband at the movies with my friends. Okay. And he tried to talk to me. I said, no lie. We laugh about this today because we're still cool. And he walked up, he was driving in his truck. He came, he's like, come to the car. And I said, hey, I ain't having sex with you. I go to church. So why you want my phone number? He was like, what?
And how old were you around this time?
I was 25.
Okay.
And he was like, what? And I said, I go to church. I said, I don't even want to play with you because you young bookie. I'm telling you, I ain't gonna have sex with you. Right. So he drove back around. He was like, man, can you just please give me your phone number? I said, I go to church. I'm not having sex with you. I don't want to waste your time. Right. I don't want to play with you because I know I'm not gonna have sex with you. He was like, no, we gonna be cool. We gonna cool. And we just hung out. We hung out with my friends. Boundaries. Right. So I'm still young. Hello, yeah. I still got flesh. So we hung out with my friend Tasha and, you know, her fiance at that time. We hung out. We went our separate ways. He came back. He was like, man, I'm going to marry you. I was like, yeah, I know you. Yes, you should. Yeah, you should. You got some yeah, you should. You should. But like you said, I think even now, like, you have to create boundaries in dating. Like, especially here in Atlanta, you really have to create boundaries because I think the more that you get to talk to people and you know what your intentions are, they'll tell you. If you listen to them, you're like, this you ain't for me. Yeah. This ain't gonna work. Yeah. We're not gonna work. So I think you just, like you say, just make sure that you have your boundaries. Let people know what you have going on. Be honest. Like if you're gonna be celibate, be celibate. Say it straight up. Like this, I ain't know what type of time you on. If that's you gonna be wasting my time, just leave me alone. Tell the people. And a lot of people struggle with that truth. What's up with that? I'm not. Tell me straight up, and that's fine. Because you may not like me. Victorian. Yeah. So I just found out something else again about you. I just didn't know. So you've been married before. Yeah. And divorced now. Yeah. You're not married now. So just what was that like? You know, just going through a marriage and getting a divorce, because like especially being like in the church, you know, I'm just curious to know what your experience was like. And you just said something so valuable, you know, like you said, you know, I'm not saved because I'm trying to get a husband or something like that. And you know, I dated someone, and I promise you, this dude thought I loved God for him. You know what I mean? It's like, dang, maybe he experiences that, like women trying to be on a spiritual journey just for their mate or whatever the case. So it's just funny that you mentioned that. But I would love to know, like, what was it like? Because 25 is still pretty young to be like married, meet a husband. And then you end up going through a divorce. Yeah. Just tell me what that was like, being a person that also is like, you know, rooted in her faith and the Bible. How did you get through that, overcome that, you know? You know what? When I went through my divorce is actually how Jesus Jules came about. Okay. My divorce was bad. It really? I was more first of all, and I know I hope church people don't come on my head, but I was too deep. Yeah. Like I was too deep. Like it was just too I was super saved. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I came from a holiness church. You know what I'm saying? So I always tell people that at that point in my life, I needed that because I was a wild horse.
Right.
So I needed structure, right? But then as I started maturing on my own in Christ, I started like, oh, I have a personality. Oh, people love me. Oh, I'm an influencer. Oh, and then my spiritual mother was super old school. So, and when I was married, I would leave. I would come home, cook, leave, go to church, and we be in church all night. Girl, you got a husband home.
Right.
You need to be home. We still had shut-ins.
Yeah.
You need to be home. Ain't no shutting in. You just shut up and shut in with your husband.
Shut in with your husband.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, but I was so deep and just so in love with the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, you need to be home. And that played a part, of course, in our marriage. So we went through the divorce. And I'm not gonna say I was embarrassed. I was hurt. I was hurt, and then I didn't understand. Once again, just super deep. At this point, I don't want to be super deep. I'm hurt. Now I'm hurt.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with this natural.
Right.
I need you to minister to my natural and say that it's gonna be okay, right? Because I never experienced divorce before. And I never forget my spiritual mother was like, just it's okay. You're gonna fast about it. You're gonna pray about it. You're gonna shout. I said no. This is now I'm maturing. Now I said I don't want to do that. I don't want to come to church.
Right.
I don't want to hear. I said I don't want to hear nobody preaching to me right now.
Yeah.
I'm hurting, and I need to sit on somebody's sofa, and I need to talk about this hurt. Not my supernatural being. I'm gonna be okay. My supernatural's gonna be okay. But baby, I gotta get through this flesh hurt, this natural thing that I have never experienced before. Because the divorce for me was like death. You know what I'm saying? So I went from a house full of people, a dog, a stepdaughter, my husband, to now my house is silent. It's me and my thoughts. I'm depressed, suicidal. Like, hey, I don't need you to be preaching no Jesus to me, honey. I don't need you to be David playing no harp. I need to sit on somebody's sofa. So how can I get through this and understand that I went through a necessary loss?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's a blessing to hear you say a necessary loss. You know, people just when they hear loss, they automatically just think bad. Like, you know, but some losses, like you said, are necessary. You know what I'm saying? That's a blessing to hear.
Yeah.
You know.
But I had to walk through the shame, the hurt, the disappointment,
all
the depression. I had to walk through that to understand that this was a necessary loss. And I never forget, my therapist at that time said, if God wanted y'all to be together, y'all would still be together.
Right.
So obviously, this is God. And I said, you know what, you're right. Yeah.
Dang, that's powerful. My mom just told me that recently, like something similar. So it's like, okay, I'll let go. Let me, you know what I'm saying? So I want to talk about therapy. Because you said you sat with a therapist.
Yeah.
And earlier, you know, I heard you say something about not sitting with a therapist.
Yeah.
But now, you know, I heard you say doing that. So tell me about like you getting into therapy, especially being a faith-based woman who believes in God. Because and you know, in our community, it's not like a super normal thing. Like I didn't watch nobody in my family doing therapy, but
we here underneath the rug.
Me and my cousin now, him more than me.
Okay.
Proud therapy and PTSD advocate.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
So, but that's not something that we grew up seeing.
Yeah.
So for you, how did you get into therapy? Like, what was it for you? Was that something maybe you grew up seeing? Like, how did you get into therapy? What has that done for you? Also being a Christian woman.
I never saw therapy.
I never.
Like, you know, we was raised in a generation of whatever go in my house, stay in my house.
Right.
You could be getting beat to the blood come out your system. Somebody don't say nothing. No, like, and even as a child, I knew that was wrong. I was like, what? Like, why y'all not gonna say nothing? Like, this is so crazy. I was losing my mind, and I said, I need to see somebody. Like, this ain't right. I had never went through those kind of emotions. You know what I'm saying? I knew the emotions when I lost my mom. You know what I'm saying? So, you know. And I knew that I was spazzing out then. Yeah. And I felt, you know, now people say crashing out. Like maybe I was spazzing out. So I knew that I was about to spazz out. And I said, and by the time I left my church home and I was at another church home, I was at New Dawn. And my pastor, she became my pastor, Pastor Julia. and she was a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
and
that.
I said, I went to her after church. I said, Pastor Julia, I need to sit on your sofa. I said, I don't want to sit on your sofa as no pastor. I said, I need you to sit on it as my therapist. And she counseled me. She counseled me through it. And I believe in therapy. I believe that if you're dating someone and it's going left, I believe in couples therapy. I believe in all that before you get married. I believe in that. I believe that even in relationships, I believe 6 months check in. Go to counseling.
Go do a little therapy.
Absolutely. Because you get to sit on sofa and you can tell your therapist don't know you. You're more comfortable spilling your heart out to someone that you don't know to someone that you know.
Yeah.
I love therapy. Yeah, and I pray that the Black community tap more into that now. I think that we are, because people have mental illness, people have trauma, and we think that we be healed from stuff, and we don't be healed.
And sometimes that's what's making it crashing out. That's what's causing us to crash out.
Yeah.
Mental illnesses, the trauma just building up over time. You know what I'm saying? So I love that for you.
I love that for y'all. Yeah.
And I want to just move right along, okay? Because you are a serial, y'all, entrepreneur, and we just have to talk about it. So again, you're balancing a lot, which is we're gonna be talking a lot of B's today. That's what I was saying. So boundaries, balance. You know, you're balancing a lot with ministry, being a hairstylist. You know, just your mental health. When did Coffee and Grind come up? How old is Coffee and Grind?
Oh, Coffee and Grind is 4 years. It's 4 years.
So good. That leads me to my next thing then.
Yeah.
So you moved to Atlanta about 5 years ago. And I want to talk about, like, just before leaving, you know, because you built something, obviously your clientele, everything in Tampa, that's where you've been. And then you decided to come to Atlanta. What was it like before making that decision? Like, why did you want to come to Atlanta? Was Atlanta, like, did you just want to move and you had a few places in mind, Atlanta just happened? Like, just tell me about relocating, because I can relate and I just want to know your experience.
I did my brunch. I wasn't going to tell the people at my brunch. I never forgot I did my brunch in May. And I said, all right, y'all. Towards the end, I said, this is my last Jesus show here in Tampa. What? Yeah, I'm leaving. I felt that I had touched and did everything that I was purposed to do in Tampa.
Okay.
That it started to suffocate me. Because now I felt like I was running in the same circle, seeing the same people, doing the same thing.
Okay.
And it wasn't excelling for me, right? So I knew that I wasn't supposed to stay in Tampa. I always say that I was brought to Tampa based upon circumstances.
Right.
But that wasn't my heart's desire. But I had to walk through Tampa to get here. Moved to Atlanta. I was staying with a friend. My so-called friend did not tell me that she was behind in her rent. Okay. I moved here in June. August, I was homeless. Wow. Yeah. I had to go back to Tampa for a wedding. I didn't want to say what was going on because I didn't want to hear anyone say, just move back. Right, because that's what they're going to say. Yeah, they're going to say, come back, just like, your client's still here. I'm like, no, I'm just going to. I'll figure it out. I figured it out. One of my clients was living here, and she called me. She was like, I didn't get my hair done. I was like, okay. And I was Ubering, and I was in the salon. She said, what are you doing? I said, girl, let me call back. I'm Ubering. And I called her back. She said, I need to get my hair done. Where you staying? I was like, girl, I am homeless. I'm just telling her what's going on. She said, I have a 5-bedroom house in a wood. She said, come stay with me. She said, on your off days, babysit my kids, and I'll pay you, or I'll take some of the rent off. Leave no money off your rent for you. I stayed with her. I Ubered a lot. Yeah. I was like, I got to get it together. I'm Ubering. And I'm like stopping at Quick Trip. Yeah. Getting coffee. Like I've always been a coffee lover. So I'm always stopping, like trying to stay up because I will Uber at night. And I said, I should do like a blog of different coffee places.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I ain't gonna be consistent with it. I ain't gonna do that. Driving. And then the Lord said, coffee and grind. I said, that's cute. And I needed clarity. I'm like, now, okay, what am I gonna do with that?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm gonna invest in some coffee beans.
Mm-hmm.
That's how coffee and grind came about. I was literally driving Uber,
Mm-hmm.
and coffee and grind came in my spirit, and I started Googling every coffee bean. How can I invest in coffee beans? Like, where can I get the best beans? Like, what I'm gonna do, girl? And then this is when they had what was the check that everybody got when Trump was in office that time.
Stimulus check.
Honey, I took all of that money.
Uh-huh.
I think it was like 1,500 or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
1,500, and I put all that money in beans, and the rest of it, because it was like maybe $3,000 I had to invest. I Ubered the rest out, and I was like, man, I'm gonna do my own coffee.
I love that. So that's how Coffee and Grind came about.
Yeah.
Again, you know, two things.
Okay.
I always say that like purpose sometimes is birthed through like pain and like past struggle, you know. So I heard you say Jesus Jewels was birthed after your divorce, which we are gonna go back and talk to about Jesus Jewels. But then here it is, you know, you moved here and then a few months later you find yourself homeless, but you just on your grind still by any means necessary. And the Lord set Coffee and Grind in your spirit.
Coffee for creatives.
Coffee for creatives. I love that.
Because I knew I was on the grind late at night. I was like, man, I need coffee. What creative don't want coffee?
Right.
Like, to stay up, to keep us going. So that's how Coffee and Grind.
I absolutely love that. You. I really do. And you did your research. You're like, let me do my research. The bestest. That. So how is Coffee and Grind doing right now?
So I shut down the site because I'm investing in the K-Cups now. Because I knew that everybody wasn't into the beans like that, right? So we're rebranding for the K-Cups. So I'm excited about the K-Cups. Because
still on her grind.
Yes, absolutely.
Still on her grind.
And you know, and today I just met with one of my grant writers. I want to invest in a coffee shop. Like, I want to do the coffee thing. Like, so I'm like, okay, let me just keep the brand going so I can have a coffee shop.
And like you know, coffee shops are perfect for creatives. You get what I'm saying? So it all makes sense and it aligns with the brand anyways.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, I know I have so many notes.
Okay.
But I do want to go back to the Jesus Jewels because that's a brunch, y'all, that she started in Tampa. And she had one in Atlanta this past year. But I was doing my research, you know, getting prepared for this interview. And I seen that, you know, during the pandemic, and since you say the Coffee and Grind, it really is I call it the pandemic, the bandemic. Because it birthed like
so much stuff.
It birthed so much.
People doing everything.
So I like calling it the bandemic. But the Jesus Jewels brunch, which I'm just super excited to just talk about, like, you know, what it is, why was it important for you to just have that event? And the first year in COVID, y'all, she had a virtual one. It was still over 200 attendees. So that to me, it says something a lot about you and the gift and your purpose, you know, attached, what you have attached to you, you know. So just let's give us the inside scoop of Jesus Jewels. How, you know, how did that birth? You know, you should share it a little bit, but you know, what is that? How that come about? You know, why was it important for you to take that and make it a thing?
I'm a girl's girl, so I love to see us winning. Like, I don't like to see us broken down. I don't like to see us going through. I know we're gonna go through our stuff, but you know, being a hairstylist, I have always seen women come in and they don't feel their best because their hair isn't done. They don't feel pretty enough because their hair isn't done. I was like, girl, you really that girl. Like, your hair ain't done. You still that girl. You know what I'm saying? So, when I was going through my divorce, I was at church and the Lord once again dropped in my spirit. He's like, Jesus, Jordan. I was like, oh, that's so cute. I'm gonna put it on a t-shirt. I'm selling. Like, I am a hustler I'm like, you give me something, baby. I'm gonna run with it.
Okay.
And
love it.
The Lord said, no.
Bigger than
what is this? Like, okay. Got quiet, and I met with this lady. I said, God gave me Jesus Jewels, and she was a prophet. She said, let's do a business plan. Did a business plan, and I said, I'm gonna start a mentorship program.
Mm-hmm.
So it started off as a mentorship program
Okay.
for women ages 17 through 21.
Okay.
And it was to help you find your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right? While you're going through life changes, battling depression, low self-esteem,
Right.
right? Because once again, I told you I was a stripper, and I knew that women at this age, if you are not guided the proper way, baby, they will make you feel like you come over here, and I did not want anyone to go through that, right? Because those were the ages where I was doing my own thing, got caught up in the world, just and I had the mentorship. And at the mentorship, the brunch was to graduate you out so you can walk into your purpose.
Got you.
But the brunch, my first brunch, I said I'm only gonna do 30 people. My first brunch was 60 people.
Double.
I was like, whoa.
Okay.
I said, okay, this is like a thing. So then the second brunch, I said I'm only gonna do 80. And it went from 80 to 100. And I'm like, okay, so now I have to have a mentorship and a brunch. So we kept the mentorship going, and then I canceled it when I got to Atlanta, and we just kept on with the women's empowerment because people like I did not allow recording. Like you could never record it.
I love that though. Very
I
intimate,
wanted very intimate
in the moment.
Yeah, because I knew that I will always leave it open for questions, and I didn't want you to have someone business. Oh, Sister Watermelon was here, and she said her husband was cheating.
Yeah,
I got it. No, this is a safe place, and even to this day, I believe in safe places. Don't record them. Don't talk about it. Don't just. No, I didn't care about you doing a clip of the food and take your selfies. That's cute. But when it came down to the speakers, when it came down to like those questions, that's personal. That was just personal. So
that's good.
It was a safe place. It was just a safe place. And that's how Jesus Juice was created, from a mentorship to a brunch.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That is amazing though.
Yeah.
And I learned, and several of us are just learning, you can't put like God and what He give you in a box.
You cannot.
The person who I'm interviewing next week is having a convention coming up. And she talked about having her first convention, how she just had 30 seats. And almost 150 people, end up showing up. Absolutely. So it's like amazing to see.
He said your gifts, not just your one gift, your gifts, all your gifts is going to make room for you. But you have to activate your gifts. You can't just stick in one area. God is omnipresent anyway. He's a big God. So if He's telling you to do something, He's already had the vision for you. He already had the people for you to help you. You just got to be obedient and do what He tells you to do. I didn't think the 30 was going to go into 60. I just knew that God gave me Jesus Jules. I'm going to graduate, then we're going to have a brunch. And it just, there is no limit with God. There is no, all you can do is have big expectations with Him.
Okay. I want to ask, like, for people who are just like maybe new in their faith, how does a person know, or how did you know when you were hearing from God? Because I people ask me that sometimes, and I don't even know how to answer. I just say when you are in prayer, like when you are in prayer, God will you'll get an answer in the most different ways, through other people, whatever. So just from you, like, how do you know if you are hearing from God? How do you know? That's one question. How do you know, like, if something is a gift? You know what I mean? Okay. That you should be like just tapping into, just when it comes to that. Because I hear a lot of new Christians ask that question to other people.
What you mean? Like, what is a gift? Like, what kind of gift?
Like, how do I know this is something that I should, pursue as like purposeful? Or maybe it's just something that I like. Me, I like coaching cheerleading, but because I like coaching cheerleading, anytime I'm doing it, I'm tying it into purpose though. I'm pouring into these little girls though. And I tell the parents, listen, I don't know who y'all serve, but I serve, I say all the time, like, I'm not shy about that, but I know cheer per se isn't my purpose, but the pouring into the young girls, that part is the purpose, So how do you differentiate like purpose and passion, or you know what I mean? Like,
but your purpose is gonna have passion.
Okay, so
it has to.
So can I hear it from your point of view, like purpose, passion talk?
Okay, so your first question was, how do I know that I'm hearing from God?
Yes.
First of all, we have a conscience. That's number one. We can't never negate from us having a conscience, because we have a conscience. Our conscience is going to tell us, if we don't have the Holy Spirit, our conscience is going to tell us what is right. Period. Like, you know what's right, you know what's wrong. Yes. I always tell people, I don't have to ask an adult a certain things, because you know it was wrong anyway when you did it. Mm-hmm. Even as a kid, you knew you if I told you not to touch the stove, you touched it anyway. You knew you was wrong when you was getting ready to touch the stove. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to ask you why you did it, because you knew that you was wrong. You right. wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. Right? Your flesh wanted to do that. Mm-hmm. So your conscience should have told you, my mom told me not to do it, but my flesh wanted me to do it, right? Because at an age, you probably ain't got the Holy Ghost. Now we're trying to serve the Lord. So let's say some of us have the Holy Ghost. We have a conscience and we have the Holy Ghost. So now we have to get in the place where we are silent enough to hear his still voice, because he speaks to us in a soft way, in a still way. I never got my answers in prayer. Mm-hmm. It can be, I could be in the bathroom taking a shower. Right. And the Lord will speak. And you know, like, oh, this was God. Mm-hmm. God, it fell in my spirit, in my heart, and I heard him. So we have to be open enough to hear.
Just about to say open.
Yeah. We have to be open enough to hear his voice, because sometimes we're so scared that we don't want to hear. Because, you know, I don't want to be rebuked. I don't want God to tell me this, but he loves us so much that he's going to tell us. He chases those who he loves. Mm-hmm. So he has to get us right, and he will rebuke us. He will tell us, but we have to be in a place where he can hear his voice. Mm-hmm. We can be in a car. You know, I'm telling you, God will send a homeless person to minister to you. Mm-hmm. A homeless man witnessed to me. He witnessed to me at Publix. Brought me to tears. I couldn't believe it, but that's how God does. If God used the donkey in the Bible, he will use anything and anyone to get our attention. But we have to be open to hear from him, because he speaks to us. We just ignore him. Amen. We ignore him. So I think that God speaks to us in different ways. It could be through a prophet. It can be in prayer. It can be in the bathroom. It can be in your car. We just have to be open enough to hear his voice, because we know. We do. We know when God is speaking. You know, we may act dumb, but we know when we know. Purpose. I believe that your purpose is going to fuel your passion, and your purpose brings you profit. That's just the gospel truth. I don't know. I deep the same thing, but I'm just telling you that your purpose brings you profit. When I walked into Jesus Jules, I didn't know I was a motivational speaker. Jesus Jules birthed me being a motivational speaker. Jesus Jules birthed the book. Jesus Jules birthed so many things that allowed me to travel, that allowed me to get paid. You know what I'm saying? Like, because my purpose was for women. I love us. Like, I just feel like we just the creme de la crop. Like, I feel like we are amazing. We're just amazing. We go through everything and we come out on top. Like, we are resilient. We just bomb. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that your purpose is going to fuel you to do what's right in the eyesight of God. Right? Now, what you were saying about our bags, your purpose is it will push you to have profit, but we first have to seek ye first the kingdom of God. Okay. We got to make sure that our purpose is aligning up with what God wants us to do. Amen. Because sometimes we do things because we see other people doing it, and it's not what God has called us to. We have to make sure that we're called to it. Because if we're not called to it, then now we're just doing things in to fill a void. And now we're walking around just being sitting and not even walking in what God has purposely designed for us to do. Because all of us have a purpose to walk in. We have a purpose, but we have to find that purpose. And I promise you that my hair, I'm a hairstylist, that my purpose was to do hair. It brings me profit. This is how I pay my bills. This is what God has called me to. So, and I believe that if we use our gifts and find our purpose, God, you won't be broken, God. Now, you may go through some stuff. You got bad money management, but you ain't gonna be too. There is no lack. You're not gonna have no lack in God if we're living in the will and the purpose of God.
Amen. That was nice and powerful. One time for the people in the back. That was so good. And I've never heard it put like that. You know, they say your gift make room for you, but you just laid it out in a way. You know, that purpose get you to profit. So
It
if you're
does.
watching
It
this
does.
and you were just thinking about starting your own business or walking entrepreneurship, but you're just undecided about your purpose or you just scared to do it, y'all, this ain't the season to be doing it. Okay, this is definitely the season of just playing the right cards, having courage to walk in our purpose, accountability, being resilient. That's what I keep saying. Being disciplined and having discernment and strategizing and sticking to the plan. You know what I mean? You got to and stick to it.
But if you do fail, so what?
Right.
If you fail, so what?
Pivot.
Do something else.
Do something else.
Do something else. It's okay because you're not gonna get it right the first time. It's that would be, you know. Let me not say that it's impossible because nothing is impossible to God. But sometimes we just don't get it right the first time, and sometimes we do. But if you do fail, what I learned is what I learned at the bottom is gonna keep me on top. It's gonna sustain me at the top because everything I needed to learn from that failure, I won't do it again.
You won't do it again.
I ain't gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it differently. That ain't work. So let me go back. And guess what? If plan B ain't work, I'm gonna go back in. Let me readjust some things because plan C may work, and it's okay. It's okay.
Oh, thank you so much, Victorian. I know that I'm gonna be going back to this and listening to it all the time just to hear the jewels. The Jesus jewels that you just dropped. Great advice. How can we stay connected with you? Follow you on all your social media accounts. Please share it with us. Will there be a Jesus Jewels this year?
It's gonna be a Jesus Jewels, but it's not gonna be a brunch.
Okay.
We are definitely pivoting. We're pivoting.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't want to do it on a grand slant, like a grand. It was super grand. We had 180 people. That was just too much for me. But look for me. But whatever God say, I'm gonna do what God say. But I'm pivoting. I'm pivoting this year. We're doing something. If not the end of this year, the beginning of next year. But I'm definitely pivoting. Jesus Jules is still around. I'm never letting go of Jesus Jules. That's my baby.
Right.
Yeah, that's my heart. Yeah.
So
I'm keeping Jesus Jules brunch. Well, I'm not gonna do a brunch this year.
Right.
It's gonna be something different. It's gonna be good, but it's not gonna be a brunch.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
How can we stay connected? How can we follow you on all your platforms?
Victorian McPherson. I'm so simple. It's just my first and last name. Victorian McPherson. My hair page is Victorian Hair Artist. My coffee page is Coffee and Grind. And my new business.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, I'm a risk taker.
I love this.
I'm a risk taker.
Entrepreneur. Let's talk about that before we wrap this up. Tell me what that is. Why you decided to do? Let me tell you something. Before I leave up out of this world, I'm gonna be a millionaire. Okay, and I believe that if you don't invest in yourself, who else will? And you can't. When you're being an entrepreneur, you cannot be afraid to lose money. You cannot be afraid to make money. I don't care nothing about investing. If it don't work, oh well, so what? I'll find something else to invest in. So I ended up investing in a franchise, a cleaning business. So my cleaning business is called Perfectus LLC. And I'm getting into more government contracts so I can clean the airports and do vacation homes and hospitals and stuff like that. So I can just have employees because I know I ain't cleaning nobody nothing. My first contract I have to go out there and do it, but like moving forward, that's not the game plan. Right. Yeah, that is the game plan. The game plan is to hire people and praise the Lord and y'all help me help y'all make rich. Okay. So yeah, I invested in the cleaning company. Anything next? What else can we just be on the lookout for right now that you can tell us? Anything that you want to share that you can't share? Right now, I'm just trusting God. That's really it. I'm just trusting God. Getting my cleaning business off the ground and working on, the next launch of Jesus Shores. But other than that, I'm just trusting God. That's it. Just trusting God. I need to get some million somewhere, somehow. Somewhere, somehow. Okay, I'm ready. Trusting you and I'm ready. Yeah, and taking risks and just taking risks. I don't want to leave this earth and die with all my gifts inside of me. Yeah. It's so many people in the grave that has their gifts still laid in them. I don't want to do that. I want to say, God, you told me I did it, and I'm depleted. I have nothing else to give. I did exactly what you told me to do. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to deplete myself of everything that's inside of me that God has gave me. That is wonderful advice. I love that. And we're going to end with that.
Yeah.
Y'all, if you are watching this, do not go out sad. That's what we call that.
Don't go out
Do
sad.
not go out
Don't
sad.
do that.
Deplete everything it is in you that
Yeah.
God got in you. Do not go to your grave with it still bundled inside, y'all. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This was so good.
Thank
I
you.
know that this is gonna inspire somebody, motivate and someone, empower someone, and equip.
Yeah.
She dropped the jewels here.
Yeah.
You know, she gave you the sauce. Okay. So just follow her on all platforms, y'all. Make sure you stay connected with Ladies in Motion. We're gonna continue to shine light on the women that's winning in the local community, y'all. I cannot wait for what God has in store. God is so good. Been blowing my mind for 32 years. He ain't stopped yet. So just make sure y'all stay tuned. I'll be right back here again next week with my girl Yanni McLean. So make sure you stay tuned. Follow Ladies in Motion on all platforms. And until next time, bye.